Somewhere between 40,000 and 100,000 years ago, a man looked at a woman and had a thought that would permanently ruin the next several thousand years of human history. He decided, I want to keep this one. For the 2 million years prior to that moment, Homo sapiens and their ancestors operated on a completely different default setting. They lived in small, nomadic groups of 25 to 150 people, where exclusive long-term pair bonding simply was not the norm. Anthropologists have spent decades verifying this by studying modern, isolated hunter-gatherer societies, groups like the Hadza and the Kung. Across the board, they find that rigid, lifelong monogamy is either missing entirely or treated with a level of flexibility that would give a modern divorce lawyer a panic attack. The Mosuo of China practice what researchers call walking marriage. In their society, there isn't even a word for husband or father. Relationships are arranged. Children belong entirely to the mother's household, and when the evening ends, everyone simply walks home to their own families. For 99% of our species' existence, exclusive, lifelong pair bonding was entirely absent from our biological and social hardware. What broke that system was agriculture. About 10,000 years ago, humans figured out how to farm. This flowchart shows the immediate logistical nightmare farming created. Once you have a field, you have property. Once you own property, you need someone to inherit it when you die. And once you need an heir, you suddenly need to know exactly whose children are whose. To solve this new problem of strict paternity verification, early agriculturalists invented a rigid behavioral contract to lock partners in place. This is what modern historians and anthropologists agree the institution of marriage was actually built for. It was never about companionship. It was not invented because two people looked at each other across a wheat field and felt a spark. Marriage was humanity's first piece of inheritance paperwork. Because it was paperwork, the earliest versions of marriage bypassed the actual couple completely. It was a financial negotiation between two fathers who both wanted something the other had. You can read the terms of these contracts in the Code of Hammurabi, written in ancient Babylon around 1754 BCE. It dedicates an entire section to marriage law, meticulously outlining bride prices, down payments, and refund policies if someone backed out. The word love does not appear in these sections. The word property appears frequently. The ancient Romans systemized this into 3 distinct legal tiers of marriage. Each tier dictated exactly how much property was transferred and the precise level of legal control the husband exerted over the wife. For most of recorded human history, marriages were diplomatic instruments. You married a neighbor because your father needed access to their river. The actual children involved were informed of this decision with about the same level of consultation you would extend to a cow being traded for lumber. The institution was highly effective, strictly enforced, and completely devoid of emotion. It functioned entirely as a corporate merger between patriarchs, which makes the modern version of this contract incredibly strange. The idea that you should actually like the person you are marrying is a shocking historical plot twist. Historians trace the widespread demand for romantic love as a baseline requirement for marriage to 18th century Europe and America. This timeline illustrates just how insignificant that window is. You have a 10,000-year block where marriage operates strictly as an economic institution, and a tiny 250-year sliver at the end where we decided to expect romance. Marrying for love is not our ancient tradition. It is a highly unproven experiment, a radically optimistic software patch applied to an ancient economic operating system. This chart tracks modern divorce rates, showing how the experiment holds up. In the U.S., approximately 45% of first marriages end in divorce. For second marriages, the rate climbs to 60%. Try a third time, and it hits 73%. It is a spectacular rate of failure for an arrangement we lack the evolutionary blueprint for. Our closest primate relatives, the chimpanzees and bonobos, operate perfectly well without any concept of exclusive, legalized pair bonding. If humans relied strictly on logic, evolutionary precedent, and historical data, we would have abandoned this broken institution the moment the first numbers came in. But we don't. Despite the terrible odds, despite the cynical origins of property law, human beings across entirely isolated cultures and eras keep independently inventing ways to stand up in public and claim each other. Anthropologist Helen Fisher classifies this as a universal universal. It is a biological impulse the brain keeps generating, regardless of the cultural environment and regardless of what happened the last time it tried. No other animal does this. There are animals that mate for life, but we are the only species on Earth that holds a ceremony for it. We are the only ones who invite witnesses, put on specific clothes, and make the commitment permanently public. We do this fully aware of the 73% failure rate. We do it carrying the inherited weight of Roman property laws and ancient bride prices. We took a cold, ancient legal mechanism designed to track inheritance, and somehow, against all of our available logic, we turned it into the ultimate, beautifully irrational declaration of hope.